Hello, welcome everyone to Solar Oregon's Comparing Solar Quotes webinar. My name is Abigail Jager. I'm a program manager with Solar Oregon. This is a recurring workshop that Solar Oregon has been delivering to home and businesses across our state for many years as we work to provide you as a consumer with the information you need to make good informed choices as you explore solar and/or battery storage. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, we'll build on the basics of how to go solar and focus on how to read and compare different solar quotes. We'll start by taking a look at the fundamentals of a solar system and how you can expect to see these represented on a quote. Next, we'll take a look at the different elements of a quote and what details to look out for. After that, we'll walk through an example quote to see what it all looks like in practice, and we'll wrap up by talking about solar contractor selection if you have not already reached out and received quotes. We're here to get your questions answered, so we'll also have a Q&A session after the presentation. A few quick housekeeping notes before we begin. Please put all your questions in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. It's highlighted in orange on your screen right now as well. We will drop links to that we think will be useful in the chat window, but you can put your questions into the Q&A section at any time during the presentation. No need to wait until the end. We're going through them all at the end, so feel free to put your questions in as you think of them. I'm going to go ahead and also launch a few polls as I go through the last couple housekeeping slides. If you wouldn't mind filling those out, they're all really simple and just help us get some data about who's attending our workshops and webinars in order to help us be more competitive for grants and other funding opportunities. This workshop is put on by Solar Oregon. Solar Oregon is a 501c3 nonprofit that has worked to encourage solar and storage adoption throughout Oregon since 1979. We do this by providing impartial and reliable consumer education, such as this workshop, working to build the clean energy community, and performing outreach and some policy advocacy. We also facilitate solar tours, zero energy showcases, expert panel discussions on a range of topics, and solarized campaigns, which are regionally focused short-term events where you can access solar discounts by going solar with your neighbor. We have some really great events coming up over the next 2 months, so be sure to check out our Eventbrite and sign up for our newsletter in order to know what is going on. And thank you so much for filling out that poll. I'm going to go ahead and launch the next one now. This workshop series is supported by Energy Trust of Oregon. Energy Trust is an independent nonprofit established in 2002 that provides resources to help enable customers of the investor-owned utilities in our state to help use energy efficiently and gain access to renewable energy. They offer key incentives for solar installation and battery storage. Energy Trust also coordinates a network of trade ally contractors to help offer these incentives and ensure that all best practices are being followed. Thank you so much, Energy Trust, for your continued support. And thank you for filling out that poll. I'm going to go ahead and launch the last one now. And while that one is going on, I'm also going to put some useful links in the chat. And thank you for filling out that poll. Now, if you haven't had the chance to connect with a solar contractor to get quotes, there is an extremely easy and convenient tool on Energy Trust website and linked in the chat that you can use to request free custom bids from highly rated trade ally contractors in your area. This online form takes only 3 to 5 minutes to complete and is not binding in any way, and you can ensure you're getting connected with solar trade allies that can best serve your solar and storage needs. Energy Trust trade ally contractors have been rigorously vetted, highly rated, and are the only contractors who can offer you the Energy Trust solar and storage incentives. We highly recommend working with a trade ally contractor and getting at least 3 quotes to compare if you're able. Now, without further delay, let's jump into our main presentation. We're going to start by reviewing system components, but if any of this goes over your head and if you would like a deeper dive into the basics of solar and storage, please consider joining our next How to Go Solar Plus Storage workshop. So here's a diagram of a typical home solar system. You can see the solar panel labeled here as a photovoltaic or PV panel on the top left. When sunlight hits the photovoltaic or PV panel, a volt of electricity is generated that then flows into a special device called an inverter or microinverter. That is what converts the electricity generated by the solar panel to usable electricity for your home. From there, it flows into your home electric panel to power your lights, charge your computer, and do everything we use electricity for. If at any point in time your solar panels are generating more power than you need, then any excess power flows out to the utility grid to be used by your friends and neighbors through a special new bidirectional utility meter that is able to track both the electricity you are exporting to the grid and the electricity you are importing from the grid. This is known as a grid-tied solar system as you are still connected to the main electrical grid. The alternative would be an off-grid system where you have no grid support. That's all there is to a solar system. It's pretty simple, and one of the reasons why solar is so low maintenance and very customizable to your specific wants and needs. So, as I said, when your solar system produces more electricity than you are using, the extra is sent into the grid to be used by your friends and neighbors. Net metering is the process that lets you earn credits for this excess, helping offset future electricity use, and what we all care about, helping save you money. That's why it's very important to size your system to match your energy needs. And so we're going to talk about net metering by looking at an example first in a typical sunny summer month. So a day, not quite like today. It's not that sunny today. It's a little bit cloudy, but if we think back to Sunday when it was, I think, 80 degrees in early May and it was nice and hot out, we can think that our solar panels would be generating so much power. And that's represented by that really big orange bar on the left here. I think right above my head, depending on where you have me. If you have any comments, put them in the chat. That's going to be the easiest for me to see, or put them in the Q&A. That'll be the best way for me to be able to utilize them if something's going wrong. But looking at two examples. In summer, you typically produce more electricity than you use, so that orange bar is showing all that excess electricity you are generating. And then that blue bar is showing your consumption. So we can see that's just about half of your expected of your total solar generation. The excess that is represented by that green arrow becomes your net metering credit. And if we then think about a day kind of like today, but more in December, it's even cloudier than it is right now. You still use a similar amount of electricity that's represented by that blue bar on the right. However, your solar panels do not produce nearly as much power. They still do produce some, even during the cloudier months, our solar panels still get enough sun to produce some amount of power. However, they don't produce quite enough to offset what you need. Therefore, you have to draw the excess that you need from the grid, and that is represented by that red arrow. Luckily, those net metering credits that you earn during the sunny summer months help offset that electricity you need to buy in the cloudier winter months. Net metering credits roll over from month to month. That's what allows the system to work. You're able to build up credits all summer long and then use them all winter. The net metering year begins and ends right around April 1st, depending on when exactly your billing cycle changes, and any unused credits are donated to the grid. This lets you save up in the summer and spend in the winter. So that is how net metering works. And next we are going to, as I said, net metering credits roll over from month to month. However, they do not roll over from year to year. So those net metering credits that you have in excess are forfeited. This makes the sizing of your system really important. Solar is highly modular and customizable, and residential solar systems vary widely in their size. System size is measured in a unit called kW or kilowatt, and the average residential size in Oregon is about 8 kilowatts. But what determines your system size? By far the biggest constraint is how much electricity you consume. This is because, as mentioned, net metering credits do not roll over from year to year. That means your goal is to meet but not exceed your estimated annual consumption. Your contractor will ask you for your past electric bills to determine your future needs, as well as having conversations with you in order to determine if there's any future planning they need to do in order to size your system correctly. This can include planning to upgrade appliances to more energy efficient models, having anyone move in or out of your home or wanting to get a pool or jacuzzi installed. Other factors that can limit your system size are available roof space, budget, or limitations placed by an HOA or condo association. I do want to note that it is illegal in Oregon for HOAs to tell you that you can't go solar. However, they can impose restrictions on how you go solar, including, for example, preventing installation on the street-facing side of your home. If you're having issues with an HOA, please reach out to us at info@solaroregon.org, and we're happy to see if we can help. When comparing different solar quotes, you're going to want to know the differences in how much power your system is producing. Some simple metrics you can use to compare are how many watts of capacity are in your system, calculating the cost per watt of your system by dividing your total system price by total number of watts. For example, if you have an 8 kilowatt system, you could divide the cost to install your system by 8,000 watts. However, you should remember that this is not the only metric you should use. You want to be aware of the quality of your parts and not just get the cheapest panel and other system components possible, as this could lead to you having issues in your system later down the line that will cost more money to fix and end up costing you more in the long run. Other questions that you can ask are, what's the solar production estimate for both peak summer and winter? And what is the estimated yearly solar production or kilowatt hours per year? And you also want to check if there are any additional charges that you need to be aware of. Now, before we look at elements in a quote and some example quotes for solar and storage, I'm going to recap some of the reasons why both solar and battery storage costs vary so widely and why the cost of your system may look very different than what I'm showing today. The cost of solar depends on the size of the system, if you're needing to do any re-roofing or structural analysis or structural reinforcement, and if you need to have any electrical upgrades. The cost of battery storage depends on if you're installing solar and storage at the same time or afterwards, installation far from electric panel, if you're installing an essential loads panel for a partial home backup, and how many batteries you are installing. In addition, the availability of incentives can change and impact the cost for both solar and storage. For these reasons and more, it's impossible for me to quote the price of solar without having information about your site. So please keep that in mind as we're looking at some example quotes. So now we're going to walk through the elements of a quote. So when reviewing your solar system quote, you should review what is included in your system price. Some items that should be included are all equipment, including but not limited to the panels themselves, inverters, a monitoring system, and if there's any required subscription fee with that, racking equipment, and wiring. You also want to review the estimated installation time and labor costs. It is important to keep in mind that installation time can vary depending on permitting, material availability, and system design. Remember to review what warranties are included and what they cover. Consider if any maintenance plan is included in the quote and if there are any costs to maintain your system. Solar is low maintenance, but not no maintenance. A big price difference can come down to your system design and what brands are present in your system. A great topic to discuss with your solar installer is how the brands present in your system work together. This can also be a great chance to read online reviews of brands and make sure you're getting the system you want. If you're installing the latest and newest technology, that can increase the cost. For example, solar roof tiles cost more than the traditional solar panels. Both microinverters and inverters work great, but one may have been recommended over the other based on the needs of your system. Discuss why a string inverter or microinverter was chosen and the price implications of both with your solar installer. Other items that might be in your quote as add-ons are things like batteries, an electric vehicle charger, if you need any meter or MSP electrical upgrades, any electrical panel upgrades, if you need any structural upgrades, or you need to re-roof in order to prepare for solar, and if your contractor is recommending any extra critter guards or other protections for your system. For your solar system, you will have at least 2 warranties, one on the parts within the system, the panels, the inverter or microinverter, and one from your solar installer. Warranties are around 20 to 25 years for the panels and 10 to 15 years for inverters and batteries. This can vary depending on system design and brands used because equipment warranties vary by equipment and manufacturer. Solar installers often provide warranties on their labor, services, and the install itself. Industry standard for workmanship warranties is 5 to 10 years and usually includes labor and equipment from a faulty installation. Working with a reputable contractor is important. Be sure to ask what warranties are for your system and what is covered under the warranty. Consider what warranties and guarantees are included or excluded. Energy Trust Trade Allies provide at least a 2-year system warranty that covers all labor and any repairs resulting from defects in equipment or contractor workmanship. The Energy Trust Solar Within Reach Income Qualify program has a 7-year system workmanship warranty for eligible projects. Now, here's an example of some key elements that would be included in your quote. So we can see the inverter that this installer is recommending for this customer is a Solar Edge 10 kilowatt HD wave inverter with an included DC optimizer. We can then see that the solar modules are Canadian Solar and the model number right there, as well as the power generation and the materials warranty that it is offering. We can then see that they are utilizing an iron ridge mounting system and they are including a level 2 EV charger. So these are all, you may have some of these included in your system or in your quote. At minimum, you want to make sure you have an inverter, modules, and a mounting system. But that EV charger would be an example of an add-on. So now that we've seen one example of a quote, I'm going to discuss paying for solar. As with any major financial decision, please consult a professional before you make any decisions, as this is not official financial advice. And so one thing is that it's important to pay attention to if you're utilizing financing, which is very common, it's important to pay attention to the payment structure of your system. How much is the monthly payment and how much interest are you paying through your payment structure? And you also want to pay close attention to the timelines for payment and if there are any fees or penalties for paying it off early. And when it comes to financing, because solar and battery storage entail a large upfront cost, many homeowners utilize financing. Some homeowners obtain a loan through a bank with which they have an existing relationship, but some banks do not provide loan products specifically tailored to solar. Excuse me. Your contractor may also partner with a credit union or third-party broker that offers a package that is geared towards solar. As I said with any major financial decision, make sure you carefully assess all your financing options before coming to a decision. And there are many different ways you can finance your system. As we've been discussing, loans are very common. However, there are also leases and power purchase agreements that can all be utilized. When you are looking at leases, it's important to check if there is an annual escalator, whether or not it puts a loan on your home, and you want to be aware that you do not own the system, and that can cause issues if you are looking to sell your home down the road. With power purchase agreements or PPAs, you're leasing out the production of the system rather than the equipment. This is pretty uncommon for home systems, but we are seeing a rise in this year. And again, similar to leases, if you are looking into a power purchase agreement, you want to be aware of any limitations it may put on selling your home or issues with your home in the future. Recently, Energy Trust of Oregon launched Smart E-Loans in partnership with Solar Trade Allies and Inclusive Prosperity Capital, a 501c3 clean energy financing platform. ETO Smart E-Loans can be used to install solar plus battery storage with a qualifying solar system, an electric vehicle charger with a qualifying solar system, and can help cover enabling upgrades or repairs up to 25% of the loan amount. Here are some of the benefits of Smart E-Loans. Transparency of a clearly stated interest rate without any other hidden fees. There are no fee or prepayment penalties. It is an unsecured loan with no need for collateral. Low FICO credit scores are accepted as low as 580, and it has flexible terms of 5, 7, 10, 12, and up to 20 years with rates as low as 6.99% and a very easy application process. One caveat to this program is that it is only available to PGE and Pacific Power Service our customers and within those service areas. If you are not within those areas, reach out to your local bank or credit union to see if they offer something similar. And if you are within a PGE or Pacific Power Service area, there are a variety of financing partners that you can check, and you can also reach out to your credit union to see if they would consider joining the Smart E-Loan program. There's a link if you would like to find out more in the chat. Now, when it comes to loans, there are some questions you want to be sure to ask and things you want to be sure to know. Some questions you want to ask are, what is the interest rate? If there are any dealer fees or early payoff penalties, whether the loan is fixed or variable, how many times can you rematurize the loan? What are the refinancing options and who services the loan? Now that we've gone through all the loans, there are some incentives that can help lower the price of solar overall. Energy Trust offers a standard incentive for solar and storage. The incentive amount depends on the size of your system and your utility provider. Currently, they offer for Portland General Electric customers $2,500 for installed solar systems and $400 per kilowatt hour, up to $5,000 for storage. Similarly, for Pacific Power customers, you can get $2,500 for an installed solar system and $288 per kilowatt hour, up to $3,600 for installed storage. And the great thing about these incentives is that they are very easy for you as a customer to be able to claim. The only thing you have to do is work with an Energy Trust Trade Ally contractor. They will fill out all the paperwork and ensure your system meets Energy Trust standards and installation requirements in order to be able to receive these incentives. Now, beyond the standard incentive, Energy Trust also offers an income qualified incentive. Energy Trust of Oregon's Solar Within Reach program is an income qualified incentive that is a dollar per watt incentive that allows PGE and Pacific customers to reduce their installation costs, very similar to the standard solar incentives I was just talking about, just at slightly higher dollar amounts. The income cutoffs for this program are very generous, with a household of 4 being at $128,564. However, these are subject to change, and you want to be sure to check them out and see if you qualify today. So now that I've gone through a lot of different details about what to look for in a quote, how to lower the price, and how to pay for a system, I'm going to walk through some example quotes. So here are 2 different examples of how the cost breakdown might look on your quote. Remember to look at the price per watt of your system, which can be calculated by dividing the total cost of the system by the number of watts your system is producing. So for an 8 kilowatt system that costs $32,000, you would divide 32,000 by 8,000. And so in this example, your price per watt would be $4. So we can see in this example that these customers the customer on the left is being quoted for a 25 module system with a system size of 9.88 kilowatts. And the contractor was helpful enough to include the price per watt right there at $3.88. And the same customer got quoted by a different solar contractor with a slightly larger system at 10.92 kilowatts. And this contractor chose to include a diagram of how the solar panels would be placed. Now we can see the cost breakdown that these 2 contractors also offer. So we can see the system price before any incentives, the out-of-pocket costs, and then because these quotes were provided last year, they also include the federal tax credit that currently is no longer in use, but we can still see it included here. And we can see the cost breakdown on the right again, just looking at that total cost of system at $38,000 and the various incentives they were able to qualify for. As a reminder, incentives can vary based on utility provider, state budget, and other incentives and your qualifications. So now we can see an example of what equipment is included within these two different quotes. So we can see the PV modules, what inverters, the batteries, system monitoring, racking system, and mounting system. We can see that there are some things that remain the same across these quotes. Both utilize Iron Ridge for the racking and mounting systems. However, they use different PV modules and different inverters. These differences really come down to contractors and what type of equipment they specialize in. So be sure to check out some independent reviews to see if this is the equipment you want and ask your contractor questions about why they selected the equipment they did. So now how is this getting financed? We can see that one of these contractors included financing directly in the quote. That's great and likely due to the installer having a direct relationship with a financing company. Other quotes, as we can see by the big blue question mark, might be completely missing those details, and you need to compare a second quote from a separate organization that you are responsible for getting yourself. We recommend, as with your solar quotes, getting at least 3 different financing options and seeing what works best for you. Next, we're going to talk about how to find a contractor. So we've already talked about how you compare the practical items of your solar quote, the equipment in it, the very hard practical items. But you can also think about things that come down to more your individual preferences. These include things like the company culture, the size and structure, how long the contractor has been in business. There's no wrong answer to any of these questions. Some people prefer a small local company that's just getting started, while others prefer larger companies that work nationwide. These all come down to your individual preferences, and there are great providers in all aspects. Um, as with any major financial decision, it's great to look up reviews, request references, and see if you can find any testimonials online. Excuse me. You can always ask your contractor for references, and it's a great idea to do so, but we also recommend looking up reviews on Google, Yelp, and other online review sites. In addition to what we already talked about, you may also want your contractor to hold certain credentials. Credentials can be value-based, such as being a B Corp, or it can be about them meeting certain requirements, such as the Energy Trust of Oregon Trade Allies program, which also has the added benefit of saving you money. As we previously mentioned, you can use the custom bid form linked in the chat to connect with Energy Trust of Oregon Solar Trade Allies. And by filling in the solar bid tool, you can receive quotes from up to 3 contractors that work in your area. These contractors are all going to be Solar Trade Allies, and you are not bound to work with any of them by requesting a quote, but it's a great way to get some new information and have some quotes to compare about your specific home if you have not done so already. Now I've gone through my entire main presentation. If you have any questions, please put them into that Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. I'm here to get your questions answered, so please don't be shy. And while people are thinking of their questions, I'm also going to go ahead and launch my final survey. And if there are no questions, that QR code to request a free custom analysis and bid from Energy Trust Solar Bid Tool is on the screen, as well as all those links in the chat. I'll actually put those in one last time just in case people want to grab them. And if you have any further questions, you can reach out to us at info@solaroregon.org. Thank you so much for being here today. As I said, I'm here to get your questions answered. So if you have any, please put them into that Q&A box. But otherwise, I will leave it open for just one more minute and then go ahead and close it. And I hope everyone has a great day. Well, thank you everyone for coming today. If you have any questions, please reach out to us at info@solaroregon.org and have a great rest of your afternoon.